committee, Rob, to get it rolling. Okay, Christine, if you could just do the sender in and apologies. Thanks.
Thanks, Chair, and good morning, members. Councillor Douglas Reid.
Yeah.
Councillor Jim McMahon.
Thanks, Christine.
Councillor John McFadden. Thanks, Eddie. Councillor Elaine Cowan.
Here.
I have an apology from Councillor Ian Linton. Councillor Graham Barton.
Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Barry Douglas.
Apologies, Christine.
Thank you. Councillor Neil Ingram.
Yeah, thanks, Christine.
Councillor Claire Maitland. Here. Councillor Linda Mabin.
Here, thanks.
Councillor Drew Filson.
Here.
Dr David Lewis.
Here.
I have an apology from Harriet Johnston. Babs Mowat. And see you on screen, Babs. Hazel Malacotti.
Yes, thanks, Christine.
And Jackie Livingston.
Yes, thank you, I'm here.
Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Christine. Go to standard item 1, declaration of interest. Is there any? Jackie?
Hello, my son attends an ASN provision school, but it's more than 3 miles away. And I've also got comments from the parent steering group on their thoughts on this paper.
Thanks, Jackie. Okay, thanks. Okay, anyone else? Okay, go to item 2E, which is alternative school transport policy, and Ian Burgoyne is going to present us. Ian.
Thanks, Chair. The report sets out the current status of ASN alternative transport provision and asks that consideration is given by Cabinet to potential actions to address the need to reduce costs, minimise spending going forward, and protect sustainability of alternative school transport for children and young people for whom it is essential. Paragraph 2 of the report references 11 recommendations for Cabinet to consider. The implementation of a new alternative school transport policy, the development and implementation of a new application and contract management system for alternative school transport, that current contracts for alternative school transport remain in place until the end of the current school session, that a full audit of these contracts be undertaken in April 2025 with any changes communicated to parents before the end of the current school session, that any new applications for the P1 and S1 intakes for session 25-26 are evaluated under the new policy, that a full review of current transportation of pupils attending specialist provision and out with placements be undertaken, that approval is given to the implementation plan, which includes a feasibility study and cost-benefit analysis on options for alternative transportation, that any additional transport costs for pupils temporarily undertaking part-time learning is devolved directly to schools, to note the implications and impact of the proposed measures on mainstream school transport, to note potential efficiencies moving forward, and to otherwise note the content of the report. Paragraphs 3 to 20 of the report outline the background, with paragraph 12 identifying the substantial increase in numbers of children and young people presenting with additional support needs from 2019 to the current session. Paragraph 14 shows the numbers of learners in receipt of alternative transport provision across sectors, while the table in paragraph 18 identifies the increasing level of spend for ASN transport, with the projected costs for academic year 24-25 identified in paragraph 19. From paragraph 21, we reference the proposals to manage alternative school transport provision, which include the establishment of a new decision-making forum, the Transport Review Panel. As a precursor to any official launch of this group, we have already brought colleagues together to agree on terms of reference. We ran a test meeting of representatives and have agreed a provisional membership. We've tried to define the essence of the new alternative transport policy as concisely as possible, which you will note in paragraph 27. Where there is evidence that alternative transportation is essential for a child to attend school, it will continue to be provided. But the new policy is clear that this does not necessarily mean the provision of a home-to-school taxi, and that other viable transport options will be considered. Paragraph 28 relates to young people undertaking temporary part-time learning and the proposal that if these arrangements incur any additional transport costs, these should be devolved to schools. Paragraph 31 refers to a new end-to-end online application system currently in development, which, subject to Cabinet approval, will be available during next session. Parents and carers will be asked to apply annually as part of existing team of family arrangements. However, there will be an exemption from this process for children assessed as requiring alternative transport for the whole of their time at school. We expect this exemption would apply mainly to parents and carers of children attending Willowbank and Hillside schools. From paragraph 33, we outline next steps following successful and unsuccessful applications. And from paragraph 39, the review process that will be put in place for any parent or carer querying an application outcome. Implications of the report are referenced from paragraph 42, with financial implications outlined from paragraph 48. The draft policy and equality impact assessment are also included for consideration as appendices 1 and 2 of the report. This has been a complex process to get to the stage of the report, as you can imagine, but in that time our aim has always remained the same, that children and young people who absolutely need alternative school transport should continue to receive it. Thank you. Happy to take questions.
Thanks, Ian. As you mentioned, I mean, the thing for me is that table, top of page 7, and you make comment that, I think later on in the report. I mean, that is absolutely phenomenal in terms of that increase post-COVID, £2.6 million or thereabouts. What are the driving forces behind that? Is it the taxi prices, or where are the pressures coming from?
So thanks for that, Leader. If you don't mind me coming in on Ian's behalf, clearly we are seeing several market forces in that space that will actively increase those costs. So clearly there hasn't been an awful lot of shift in the numbers in terms of access of young people, but ultimately what we've seen has been a significant rise in the contract costs, which could clearly be attributed to fuel, wages and other payments at this stage. But, clearly from the contractual piece, that would probably be something that ARA would be more in a position to answer. But happy to come back to you clearly on that, but really it's been very much around about the cost of fuel and the cost of contracts that are being offered to us by the transport companies to whom we contract.
Thanks. I know fuels went up, but I don't think it's worked to that extent. I appreciate it as a wee bit, but is it the taxi charges themselves, or what in terms of the contracts? Jane, do you want to?
Yeah, as Linda said, it will be the contract costs, and yet it will be the taxi contract costs that have gone up in recent years. But we can come back with further detail on that if you wish.
No, I just think it helps inform the situation. Linda?
Thank you, Leader. Can I drill down a wee bit more on that? It's really just to sort of ask, like, for the sake of the public being aware, what is the cost? And I know, Jane, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but like if we can maybe put it out there to the public, what is the cost, say for example, of a child getting picked up in Kilmarnock and going to a school out with Kilmarnock? What are the council being charged for that particular journey? And maybe if we can get those figures, it may become easier to understand.
No, I agree, Linda. I mean, we've all heard anecdotally, exorbitant taxi fares getting charged. So I think we need to, have that out in the public, and the public needs to understand why we're having to carry out this review. I think that's crucial to this. Before I bring Jane in, I see Elaine Cowan wants in. Elaine.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to take a moment to thank the education team for all the work that they've done to produce this new policy, and also recognise the direct involvement of the ARA officers. This policy, I think, is well written and it's easy to follow, and it's going to focus on ensuring that we get the equity for all of the children with additional support needs, while, like yourself and Linda have just picked up there, addressing the need to reduce the significant overspend. I mean, end of this year, we're projecting 4.4 million to get children to school. That's an incredible amount of money. So this new application process and the assessment will absolutely be based on the individual need of the child, and those needing the service will continue to get it. One ask I've maybe got from today, I think it would be helpful if elected members could get a further briefing once the sort of full audit of the contracts and everything is getting done, and just prior to the launch of the online application. I think that would be useful for elected members to see that before the whole system goes live, before the next academic session, if that would be possible.
I think that's a good suggestion. I think all elected members have got an interest in this. I think that would be helpful, and I think you're right about the process. But I think there's a message here that we need to let the public be aware of just the pressures that we're facing here. Jane, do you want to come back?
Yes, through you, Chair. I've no figures with me regarding individual journeys or contracts, but I certainly can get that pulled together for you, and through Linda, we can provide that.
Okay, Graham.
Cheers, Doug, and thanks for the paper. I was going to mention the table 3 in page 7. I thought it tells a story, but it didn't tell the full story. So I went to the Education Department and asked for additional figures in that, and how many pupils are accessing that every academic year, and how many contracts were in place. And I think when we look at that additional information, we can see for 21-22, we see a real rise in the costs of this ASN transport provision, while the number of pupils accessing it remain pretty constant. So I'm no mathematician, but I've done some quick sums on this, and it looks like over the past 4 years, we've seen 100% rise in the cost of these contracts. So my ask is that as officers, we go and look at real alternatives to that taxi provision. I'd just like to talk on, I know these are bringing a paper, an ASN paper in May. I think long term, I'd hope to see that we can provide more local provision and stop the greater need to provide that transport in the first place. I had a couple of other wee notes, but I think you've touched on them, Dougie. I think one thing I've kind of noticed is I come from an aviation background. In the last 20 years, was at Rolls-Royce, and it was always when you put something out to tender, it's when you get it in, the companies just add a zero at the end. And I can see a bit of this in this scenario here. So, yeah, thank you.
That's good. Linda.
Thanks, Leader. I've got one wee observation and one question, if you'll indulge me. Is that all right? I have to say I was disappointed to see over the last couple of days that the local press have printed quite a bit of information, which they're entitled to do for the papers, but they seem to be drawing their own assumptions before this meeting even takes place. Do they realise that they're causing already worried parents more worry? And I suppose the wee question is, can I safely assume that none of what was printed over the last couple of days came from within this council? Because I would hope not. And my question was, Linda, Maureen and Ian came to our group the other night, and it was raised with if they could look at provision of some sort of ASN breakfast club. Maybe that's the wrong name to put it, but some sort of provision could be made to allow parents and carers who at the moment, because their kids have been getting picked up, they've been able to go and get jobs that start at whatever time. And Linda did say that they would take it away and they would look at it, but I just wanted to mention it in today's meeting.
I've not actually seen the press on it, but I've certainly, there's no briefing that I'm aware that came from that, certainly from the council. I know the papers have been public since the end of last week, but I think it's a good idea, and I think yourself and Graham was also suggesting looking at kind of alternatives to see if we can. And these are all good ideas. I know Jackie wanted to come in as well. I don't know, Linda.
Yeah, just by way of reassurance, Leader, obviously, Councillor Maben, I'm not sure as to the genesis of the press article. I can only take it as being a construal of what was printed in public domain in respect of the paper, given that the papers are in public domain. From our perspective, we've clearly been very, very careful to make sure that people are briefed with the right information, and we're really proud that we've been able to do that in advance to make sure that there wouldn't be any panic caused to parents, but inevitably when information is printed in the press which is not the correct information, then ultimately that becomes quite difficult. But just to reassure members, we took the head teachers through this paper twice in full detail, because we know that the parents will present themselves at their local school, and clearly, members, one of the key pieces is around about those young people who are absolutely entitled to this transport, many of whom their ASN conditions won't change over their lifetimes, and actually the policy takes care of that in making sure that parents don't need to jump through hoops on a yearly basis when the conditions of some of their young people, particularly those young people at both Willowbank and Hillside, won't actually change. So clearly from our perspective, both the aspects of the communications piece in all of this are absolutely key, and we'll be working directly, and indeed we've had several offers from members to help us in that space as well, so we're really grateful for that. But clearly what we had to do is bring this paper for your both your awareness and clearly your agreement to go forward with this in order that we can take the paper forward. But my head teachers are all incredibly well briefed, and they were with us on several occasions in advance of coming to Cabinet, such that if their parents do present to them, but ultimately the press take on the paper isn't the one that we did supply a press release as always. My colleague said at the back we did supply a press release as always. It's certainly not what was released.
Thanks, Linda. Jackie and Delane. Jackie first.
Okay, can I just give the comments that the parent steering group suggested about the paper? They were again concerned about the high cost of providing taxis. They are also aware that other councils do similar. The audit is welcomed, but what was raised a few times was parents having to be at two schools at the same time, so they're concerned about drop-offs and an increase in maybe absence or lateness. But I'm sure that through the comms and the head teachers, all these individual cases, if they are, can be addressed, and just ensure that the comms that goes out is clear and accurate and timely. Thank you.
I think that's an absolute fair point. Linda?
So thanks for raising those points again, Jackie. We discussed them in the non-elected briefing, and obviously what we don't want to cause is any additional issues for parents, but I do have to be clear in chamber that it's parental statutory duty to get young people to school. At the end of the day, this is only a small part of that in regards to ASN transport duty, and clearly as cases arise, that's why we have the decision-making group, and that if parents want to present any additional evidence in that space, they can do so. Actually, what we don't have is any proof at all that taxis increase attendance. Because ultimately we have been in the position of taxis going to collect young people in the morning and young people not actually getting in, and the council's therefore still liable for costs. So ultimately the provision of a taxi isn't seen to determine attendance, because clearly what we want to make sure is that it's the most appropriate form of transport. And the other piece within all of this is we're not really doing our young people a great service if we don't prepare them for independent life where that is possible for those young people. So ultimately when they leave school, for a lot of young people, yes, there may be assisted transport, we absolutely note that, but for the vast majority of young people, there won't be taxi provision around about getting to college or work or any other provision. So ultimately, it's very much around about parental responsibility, other than clearly the legislation that is well covered in the background to this paper today. It's very much around about making sure the right young people get the right transport without the council continuing to face exorbitant bills for taxi costs, where actually, as Councillor Barton's already pointed out, an alternative might be much more appropriate in that regard and actually lead to much better independent skills for those young people in preparing them for the world of the life and work. So just wanted to quantify that, Leader, in that particular regard, and that clearly our schools, and bearing in mind, members, the genesis of these discussions will take place at school through the Team Around the Family meeting. So ultimately there will be those rich discussions with family members to make sure that what is applied for is appropriate, and clearly the establishment of that panel will also play a key role in that. So I hope, Jackie, that answers those questions for you again.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Linda. Elaine.
Thanks for letting me back in, Chair. I just was wanting to pick up on 2 points, and Linda's obviously really just covered one of them there, because I was looking for reassurances about the children with the exemptions, that the communication will be key there, so there isn't any additional anxiety. And the second point was Councillor Barton's mentioned about further reviews. I also think the capital investment programme, we maybe need to start going sort of into deeper layers when we're looking at the capital investment in the learning estate, and also taking into consideration things like, you know, the transport to school, and also the needs of not just children with ASN, but also some of our supported learning centres. Make sure that our facilities are really up to, you know, fit for the purpose of today as children. So really, really helpful discussion this morning, and obviously I don't want to bog down this meeting, but I think other papers that are coming, we've got opportunities to get in there and really take a deeper dive into some of these processes and what we can actually deliver for the needs of the children. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks for that commentary, Councillor Cowan. You're absolutely right. And members, by way of reassurance, clearly it's already been mentioned today that we would intend bringing you the ASN full review in May, and that absolutely will intend to meet those aims, Councillor Cowan, around about much more localised provision following a further review, because we're all well aware of some of the issues playing out in terms of capacity in some of our schools and centres. And ultimately what we want to do is seek to put that on a much more localised basis, but what we want to also do is make sure that that's fit for purpose, ties in with the capital programme, but also does tie into this policy. But clearly we're very keen to separate the two policies out in terms of being able to bring you those and them to make sense without being too convoluted. So we'll be back with you in May, members, with your good grace to have a further discussion with you in that particular regard in the review, which will clearly encompass, Councillor Cowan, the capital piece that we've been discussing here.
Thanks very much, Linda, and hopefully, you know, as part of that wider review, some of the suggestions that came to the floor today from Graham and Linda, for example, will be absorbed in that review. Okay, members, any other? Oh, Jim, sorry.
It's just one point for me later on, just as a clarification again, is on only disagreement with the decision, you look to they have 10 days in receipt of the refusal letter to submit that. How long will we take as a council to respond to that?
Thanks, Councillor McMahon. That's also 10 days.
Okay, quite an interesting paper to say the least. Just when you see these figures in front of you, they're really quite stark. But we've managed to. It's a good paper, and we've managed to deal with it, deal with the situation that we find ourselves in. And, most of it none of our making, but we need to get in there and look forward to the full ASN review and take it from there. Look forward to that. Members, I'm going to move the recommendations. Does everybody agree? Okay, thanks for that. And go to the next item, which is the policy review schedule, and that's Amanda Law.
Thanks, Chair, and morning, members. The purpose of this report is to recommend to Cabinet proposed changes to employment policies that are detailed in paragraph 2 of the report. The background is laid out within paragraphs 3 through to 5. The main report details 3 policies that have been reviewed. As a result of legislation changes, paragraph 7 details updates within section 11 of the maternity, adoption, paternity and shared parental leave policy, and paragraph 8 of the report details the updates within section 10 of the special leave policy. This is to reflect the neonatal care leave regulations which are in effect from the 6th of April 2025. In summary, this allows employees to details employees' entitlement to apply for leave up to 12 weeks, which is 4 weeks paid and 8 weeks unpaid. It also details the times that this is appropriate for them to apply, but also that they can either have an immediate deduction from pay for the unpaid leave part, or they can schedule that over a 12-month period. Section 27 of the maternity, adoption, paternity and shared parental leave has also been updated to include the link to salary sacrifice car scheme policy. And I would note that both these policies are scheduled for full reviews and they will come to Cabinet later this year. Paragraph 9, market premium policy. A review has been undertaken of this policy to bring it up to date, and the revised policy sets out clear procedures for considering and approving market premium payments. It outlines the required evidence to allow full consideration whether a market premium should be payable or not, and the review mechanism has been developed to ensure that all market premiums will be reviewed on an annual basis. The implications are in paragraph 12. Noting that paragraph 15 confirms that trade unions have been involved in the changes to these policies. Paragraph 16 details that an EQIA was carried out for the market premium policy, but due to only been legislation changes, the other two policies, this was not required. Copies of this and the updated policies are available in the members' portal. Referring back to paragraph 2, the recommendations, and happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much, Amanda. Members, any questions or comments? Neil.
Thanks very much. It's more of a statement of thanks to Amanda and her team. Obviously, it's a kind of short policy review schedule, but it just shows that we have that continual working to ensure that our policies comply with legislation, and it's just to pass on my thanks.
Thanks, Neil. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, can we agree recommendations on page 49? Okay, that's the end of our E items. I'll give the education folk a couple of seconds to log off. Nice to see it. Okay, item 4 now, Ayrshire Growth Deal Community Renewable Energy Project Core. David McDowell.
Thank you. Thanks, Chair. Just hiding here in the back. Yep. The purpose of this report is to update Cabinet on the progress of the Ayrshire Growth Deal's Community Renewable Energy Project, including an update in the Scottish and UK Government's approval of the change management request. The report sets out the approval to proceed with the submission of 6 Pathfinder projects within the first phase of the full business case to submit to Scottish and UK governments, and thereafter to proceed with the subsequent delivery of the Phase 1 programme of Pathfinders. As the original funding for the project was based on a single final business case, a change request was submitted and approved by the UK and Scottish Government in December 2024 to adopt a phased approach to full business case delivery. So this will allow the development in the project to proceed. It's also been endorsed by the Ayrshire Economic Joint Committee on the 19th of February. These approved phases comprise Phase 1, Programme of Early Pathfinder Demonstrator Projects, Phase 2, Programme of Legacy Energy Infrastructure Projects, and Phase 3, the redesign of the Centre of Excellence facility. Phasing of the final business cases allows various elements of the project to move forward at different paces and allows the phasing and drawdown of government funding. Prior to Cabinet, all elected members have had the opportunity to view the detailed presentation setting out the background to the Pathfinder projects, focusing on the decarbonisation for housing, community assets and transport delivery as part of an energy transition, and these are set out in paragraphs 18 to 24 in the report and also detailed in appendices 1 and 3. I would like to thank our elected members for their positive feedback, which we will take forward into the delivery phase. Therefore, Cabinet is asked to approve the proposals to proceed with the development and submission of the first full business case to Government and thereafter to proceed with the subsequent delivery of a programme of Pathfinder projects at a maximum capped cost of £5 million of Ayrshire Growth Deal funding. This estimate, which includes a contingency budget, is based on preliminary scoping and market conditions. Adding external match funding is also being sought for the early Pathfinders to reduce the impact in the growth deal and enhance the overall funding where possible to maximise the opportunities for the projects. In terms of external match funding, to date we've received £869,000, which has been secured to maximise project delivery benefits, and paragraphs 39 sets out the partnership working with the 9cc Group, On Path Energy and the Council to secure £7.1 million of community benefit funding to support legacy projects within the Cumnock Valley area. The first phase of the full business case for Pathfinder projects will be submitted to the Scottish Government and UK governments by June 2025. Paragraph 37 in diagram 1 sets out the core project governance structure, which has been established with the multiple public and private sector partners supported by academia and is responsible for overseeing project development, delivery and implementation. Following progressing of phase 1, it should be noted that a minimum of 2 further business cases will be submitted for the second phase legacy demonstrator projects and the redesign of the Centre of Excellence as a hub for vocational training, skills development aligned to STEM education, which will link with education, further education and businesses together to support the renewable sectors and assist to reduce the skills gap. In terms of phase 3, the redesign of the Centre of Excellence, it should be noted that an operational and revenue model is being developed as part of the Centre of Excellence, and this feasibility assessment will be concluded and further details will be brought back to Cabinet. Paragraph 35 sets out the outcomes delivered from the 12-month secondment of the University of West Scotland's Professor Lawrence and the match funding of senior lecturers from the university. It was with great sadness that in July 2024, Professor Lawrence suddenly passed away, and we're working with the University of West Scotland lecturers to progress the completion of the work that he was leading. Chair, the recommendations are set out in paragraph 2, and I'm joined today with Fiona Patterson, Dermot Turnbull, part of the team leading this project, so I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much, David. Some excellent work. I think we had a presentation earlier week, just some incredible work going on there. Jim, do you want to come in?
Thanks, Chair, and thanks very much for the presentation both to David and Dermot through the week. Really high level, and now we're getting into the nitty gritty, what the core's really all about. I think we signed that growth deal in 2019, and the value that was put on that, £23.5 million, what do we actually get for £23.5 million now, and how times have changed over the last 5 years. We had that initial vision, which was initially the NERD project, and it's changed again. So it's what we can deliver, and it's looking at that, it's getting it on the ground now, and we now see something coming solid where we aim to be with this. If I could just pick up on that Centre of Excellence again, the name is changed for that. It's how we deliver that and where we deliver it, I think is really important going forward. I can put my cards on the table here. I'm no solely sold on a new build. It might be a retrofit to get value for the money, where the money then can go to the Pathfinder projects. But I think it's really important we deliver that skills and training. We know there is a shortage of these skills out there as far as renewables go. So I think that Centre of Excellence is key to delivering that, but where it's cited is still to be agreed yet, I think, and that's laid out in the paper. The Pathfinder projects, I'm really encouraged with the Pathfinder projects, both at Marcourt and Rinkeston, and then the wider how we deliver the district heating systems out through there as well. So it's good to see something coming, David, finally on paper. But I think one thing that we really need to establish is, and I think that's laid out in the paper again, that wherever I deliver that Centre of Excellence, it must be sustainable. Thanks.
Thanks, Jim. Anyone else? Graham?
Just a quick question, seeing in the CARES funding, what kind of support are we going to give to these community groups? Because I think they can find it difficult taking that first step, getting their APC ratings and stuff. So I just want to quite interested in what support we're going to provide, because I've tried to do it locally with some community groups and they seem keen at first, but then that first initial step makes it a difficult path for them and they end up giving up. So
yeah, through you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, this point was raised when we spoke to elected members. I mean, the report sets out that we're looking to have utilise 80% grant funding from CARES, and we're through the growth deal support 20% in the Cumbernauld Valley area. Some of the questions that were raised was about, what happens in the Kilmarnock Loudon area, and what I've said, I'll take that back and we'll have a look at how that comes forward through areas such as place-based investment fund or other external funds that we see to. But the actual support that we're actually looking at how we can help and take that forward with some form of assistance to communities. So that's work in progress, and I would anticipate that if we're successful with getting place-based investment funding through, we'll be able to set out a wee bit more in that in any future cabinet report.
Thanks, David. Elaine.
Just picking up on David's comment there about the Kilmarnock and Loudon community groups, that suggestion actually came from myself, and it was a specific group, the North West Bowling Club in my ward. As Councillor Barton pointed out, they've got real ambitions to make their building energy efficient, and they actually have done a lot of investigation into this and looked at the funding. So I would say that group is in a prime position to take advantage of similar opportunities. Obviously, the geographical extent of today's core paper doesn't extend to Kilmarnock North West, but certainly I'm putting my bid in there for Kilmarnock North West Bowling Club. Thank you.
Through you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, we're hearing some of the kind of comments when we kind of scoped out this initially. We did expect this to be raised, and obviously it's for us to look at is there opportunities to from external funding, whether it's the REF, place-based investment or others, to look at how to provide the same opportunities for the community groups in the Kilmarnock Loudon area. So we'll certainly look at that.
Okay. No, don't see any reason why not. Seems fair enough. Good. Anyone else? Okay, can we agree the recommendations, page 53? Okay, and now going to Road Asset Management Plan Investment and Programme. Craig Nate. Craig.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to advise Cabinet on the condition of the roads infrastructure and to seek Cabinet approval for the 25-26 programme for roads related works, including carriageway and footway structural maintenance, street lighting, bridge strengthening, traffic and transportation, road safety and fleet. The background is detailed in paragraphs 3 to 6, and on 27th of February 25, Council approved the Roads and Transportation Capital Investment Programme included within the Capital Programme Review Report that sets out the Council's investment priorities over the next 10 years. The proposed reprofiled capital allocations are detailed in Appendix 1. The roads infrastructure is one of the most valuable council assets. The road asset is valued at 1.7 billion, with the carriageway alone valued at 1.2 billion. A condition of the road network is detailed in paragraph 7. The results of the Scottish Roads Maintenance Condition Survey, SRMCS, is used to classify the road network into one of 3 categories. Table 1 summarises the RCI results from the SRMCS over the last 7 years, and the budget allocated to carriageway structural maintenance work within Table 2 broken down for each road category. The lower the percentage, the better the network condition. The ongoing improvements in RCI are results of targeted expenditure across the network, where we have improved from ranks 18th in 22-24, and we're currently 12th out of Scotland's 32 local authorities for 23-25. The steady state value of the road network is 8.47 million. This reflects an increase in 4.9 on the 2019 figure and is based on the 2023 treatment rates. The current maintenance backlogs are estimated to be 2.196 billion for local roads, and within East Ayrshire is 53.51 million, which reflects a minus 12.5% reduction on the 2019 figure based on the 2023 treatment rates. The RCI is predicted to deteriorate over future years without increased investment. In 2024-25, an additional revenue allocation of 0.4 million targeted deep patching, with a further allocation of 0.8 million for 25-26. It is proposed to continue to allocate more resources to the urban U-class network, and in particular focus on routes within our residential areas and targeted footway repairs. The programme for carriageways and footway structural maintenance is discussed in paragraph 8. And using data compiled from SRMCS or Clerk of Works inspection records or fault reports, feedback received from elected members, community councils and community action plan steering groups following a consultation exercise in autumn 24, a number of carriageway and footway schemes have been identified and prioritised using a scheme ranking system for inclusion in 25-26 carriageway and footway structural maintenance programmes as detailed within Appendix 2. For 25-26, the Ayrshire Road Alliance is actively reviewing the timber transport routes and will submit bids to Scottish Timber Transport for 5 locations as indicated in the paper. Continuing in paragraph 8, in 24-25, challenges were experienced and continues in terms of inflationary pressures on our plant and material costs. Resurfacing programmes will be rescheduled and monitored accordingly to ensure delivery within budget allocation. The proposed full reprofiled roads budget for 25-26 to 2023-31 is detailed in Appendix 1. Table 4 identifies the proposed allocated budgets to the value of 7.97 million for the 25-26. Members should note weather conditions contribute to deteriorating road conditions, and work carried out by statutory undertakers may result in amendments being required to the programme. As previously reported to the Council, Kilmarnock Bus Station refurbishment works is now complete, with all stances operational, and notes the current circumstances surrounding the demolition of the multi-storey car park. During 2024, car park works were completed in Kilmarnock Town Centre at Sturrock Street and London Road, which is centre stage. At Grange Street, our demolition enabling works are nearing completion, and car park works are scheduled to commence in the near future. At 16 Glenastic Street, Cumnock, the construction of a new gable wall on the site of a former fire-damaged building that was demolished is scheduled to be complete by March 25, with works to extend the existing Ayr Road car park commencing thereafter. Paragraph 9 discusses the Kilmarnock Strategic Town Centre Group and Capital Strategic Group. The Ayrshire Road Alliance is represented in the recently established Kilmarnock Town Centre working groups. A programme for street lighting is detailed in paragraph 10. There's 21,064 street lighting columns in East Ayrshire, with over a third of these, 35.9%, exceeding their expected service life. With capital funding reduced, the number of columns exceeding expected service life will increase in the coming years, and it is anticipated that the number of column failures will also increase, adding pressure on our revenue funding through non-planned column replacement. However, an increased investment in street lighting replacement would improve the current position. The proposed programme for 25-26 is detailed in Appendix 2, which has identified the parts of the network in the poorest condition. Moving on to bridges and culvert, it is detailed in paragraph 11. Table 6 lists the roads-related council structures that Alliance manages. The bridge stock's condition indicator, BSCI, is determined from the results of the inspection programme, and the scores for the last 8 years are shown in Table 8. Results show that within a family group of 9 councils, our BSCI average score is slightly lower than the family group average score. Continued investment in the maintenance of the bridge stock will help maintain and improve this current condition. All structures are subject to a programme of regular inspection to determine their condition. Currently, there are 49 bridges that are being monitored on a 2-monthly basis, and 5 on a monthly basis and 1 on a fortnightly basis. A bridge and culvert backlog is detailed in paragraphs 13. In 2024, the gross replacement cost for structural assets was estimated to be 205.5 million. At 2025, the estimated maintenance backlog of 55.5 million for the necessary strengthening and upgrading works are summarised in Table 9 for East Ayrshire Roads bridge stock. Road slips is in paragraph 14. In the past year, there's been an increase in road slips across East Ayrshire. The exact reason why these occur is unknown, but it's likely to be a combination of climate change and more frequently heavier traffic on public road. Previously, remedial works on road slips have been funded from a bridges capital budget. To continue carrying out these works and also to continue to invest in the maintenance of the council bridge stock, approval is sought to provide an allocation of 2 million made up from the council's renewals and repairs fund and the additional general capitals grant from that the council receives for 25-26. A Bridges and Culvert Street strengthening programme is detailed in paragraph 15. It's proposed to reprofile the Bridges capital budget for 25-26 to 3.5 million as identified in Table 4. Appendix 3 contains details of the Bridges capital programme, which comprises of 18 projects for 25-26 and how they relate to the funding identified. A traffic, transportation and road safety. This funding is provided by the Council, Strathclyde Partnership for Transport and Transport Scotland will deliver a range of projects to improve road safety, enhance transport network and to promote accessible travel choices. The proposed programmes are consistent with national and regional and local transport strategies and policies are taken cognizance of the road casualty trends. Road casualty trends are in paragraph 17. The trend in road casualties in East Ayrshire for 2004 are shown in Table 11. In 2024, there were sadly 9 fatal accidents, resulting in 10 fatalities, 32 serious injuries and 69 slight injuries casualties. The figures for 2024 remain provisional until final validation by Police Scotland and Transport Scotland. In relation to the 9 fatal accidents, 3 of the fatal accidents occurred on the trunk road network. Our child casualty trends are shown in Table 11. There has been no child fatalities in Ayrshire between 1995 and 2022. However, in 2023 there were 2 child fatalities and in 2024 there was 1 child fatality. The overall casualty trend is downwards, but there is a significant increase in child casualties in 2023. In paragraph 19, Transport Scotland has published a new road safety framework to 2030, which sets out a long-term goal for road safety where no one dies or is seriously injured by 2050, in line with the EU strategy goal of Vision Zero. East Ayrshire baseline and targets are detailed in Table 13. The new road safety framework, paragraph 20, embeds a safe system approach to road safety delivery, which adopts 5 pillars: safe road use, safe roads and roadsides, safe vehicles, safe speeds and better post-crash response. Ayrshire Road Alliance has reviewed the new framework and has adapted our traffic management, our engineering and road safety education activities to align with these objectives and outcomes in the new framework. The funding sources for traffic, transportation, road safety are detailed in paragraph 21. Our East Ayrshire Transportation Capital Investment Programme is detailed in paragraphs 22 to 27. Road safety programmes have been prepared based on a combination of analysis from annual accident review and location of concerns raised by Police Scotland, elected members of the public and Ayrshire Road Alliance officers. Priority in programming will be given to evidence-led schemes arising from annual accident review. As previously mentioned and contained within paragraphs 28 to 36, our funding opportunities are as detailed. Our proposed traffic and road safety programmes for 25-26, including active travel projects submitted for funding, is set out in Appendix 4. Moving on to transport and fleet, paragraphs 37 to 41. RS Transport continues to operate and maintain a current fleet. An allocation of capital programme of 0.6 million for 25-26 and then 0.4 per annum until 2030-31 to support the ongoing management and replacement of the council's fleet. EV charging grant funding was also received for 23-24 to install depot chargers. Ayrshire Road Alliance, in partnership with Scottish Futures Trust and North Ayrshire Council, continues to progress the EVIF project, supported by grant funding of 2.8 million awarded across the 3 Ayrshire councils. Our EV charging tariffs has been implemented across all 3 Ayrshires as of the 1st of January 25. The tariff aims to establish a substantial funding model and attract private investment. To further enhance the utilisation and effectiveness of the fleet, a new fleet management system was implemented at the end of 2023. This has enhanced the management of our fleet to support the climate change agenda with better utilisation of the fleet and compliance with operator licence undertakings, as well as us allowing expansion to accommodate the proposed pool vehicle strategy and further help to reduce our CO2 emissions from the council's grey fleet. A 2025-26 fleet replacement work continues within these departments to operate the vehicles on the replacement plans to ensure that the vehicles are due for replacement and they are replaced on a regular basis, but also the vehicles are appropriate for the work we undertake. Beyond 25-26, the current estimates of the electric cars and small vans may reach a price parity with ICE vehicles for 26-27. An options appraisal for the whole fleet is currently being undertaken by the Link Group to identify the best solutions for procuring vehicles, and this will be brought to Cabinet once the exercise has been completed as part of the Winder Pool Car and Fleet Utilisation Paper. This will ensure the procurement of vehicles is the most cost-effective way for the Council. Moving on to higher fleet, Ayrshire Road Alliance Transport will also look to work with departments to reduce the current number of vehicles. Chair, the Ayrshire Road Alliance recommendations are contained in paragraph 2. Happy to take any questions. Thanks.
Thanks, Craig. I've got 3 questions. Just for you, if you don't mind indulging me, just hopefully very quick. In terms of good to see the progress in Grange Street car park. I think we mentioned it was discussed at the ARA meeting recently. I noticed it has all been demolished and it's been cleared. I think it's just looked to be resurfaced and lined. So the sooner that can be done, the better. So any news on that would be really good. Because I know that anecdotally that parking the town centre, even in the evening, now is really becoming quite an issue. So if we can update that. Another one, I'm just taking the order that they're here. The paragraph 17 in terms of the road casualties. It's interesting to note 3 out of the 9 are on the A76, as you say, on the trunk road network. Is that reflected in other injuries? Because anecdotally, again, there's far too many injuries on that road, and I just want to know what we can do to alleviate that. Put more kind of safety measures in that. Maybe have a discussion with Amy or whoever it is to see if there's anything we can do with 76. Because I mean, this year, I know previous years it's been fairly bad as well. So anything we can do, I think it's a major road for us and a local authority as it connects 2 major towns within the authority. So maybe have a kind of discussion there. And just finally, I'm just looking for an update in terms of the fairer active travel as where we are with the Infinity Loop. I know it's been kind of not so much curtailed, but kind of reprogrammed, and just where we are with that. Just if you get any kind of update at all on these 3 things for me, then I'll bring everybody else. And Linda.
Thanks, Leader. I've just a couple of things. I know on page 114, right at the very bottom, there's resurfacing scheduled for Beach Avenue and Kilmarnock, which worries me because it's right outside Grange Academy. I'm assuming hoping that'll be out with term time, because that may be a complete nightmare otherwise. The other thing was on page 116, you're referring to a main street and a high street, but I don't know where. Unless I'm missing something really obvious. It just says Main Street from Surgery to Council Car Park for a footway, and then High Street from the Old Bank to the church. So if somebody could tell me where that Main Street and High Street are, that'd be great. Thanks.
Thanks, Linda. I'll bring in Claire then. I'll bring it on and you can... Claire?
Thank you. Not quite ready there, but here goes. Paragraph 19, the Transport Scotland road safety target for 0 at 2050. One of the very first things I spoke about here back in 2017 was the target should always be 0. So I'm a bit confused that Transport Scotland still have these targets of 50% reductions, etc. The other one was Grange Street. It's looking fantastic. There's lots and lots of nice new white walls. Are we going to have any cameras to stop any of the vandals getting in there and graffitiing it? That was an ask. Another ask I have is that we're going to have 70 to 80 staff transferring into the Civic North, which will be the Wallace chambers. So what is the council doing to discourage staff from car transport into town as well? It is getting harder and harder to move. We again still have staff this morning and then residents parking. So I'd like to know if there's anything going on to discourage staff from bringing cars into town. And There was one other thing, but I'll stick with that just now. Thank you.
Thanks, Graham.
Just make a couple of comments on, it's great to see Mayfield Avenue in Hurlford down for resurfacing. It's probably one of the worst roads conditions that I've seen, so absolutely fantastic to see that in the schedule. And I'm going to wheel out my annual question on Grugger Road, Cricket Home. It was down for full resurfacing last year, plus a road widening for the lower half. The top half's been resurfaced. I think there's some legal wrangles that we need to get through to allow us to widen the road in the bottom half. I just wonder if there's any update on that and how close we are to getting that road resurfaced and widened. And a question on, recently we put £800,000 into the budget for roads, pavements and kind of puff and crossing improvements. I take it, I'm just for clarity, none of these allocations take into account that money.
So I think that's right. I think Craig had mentioned it, but Jane will just confirm.
Yes, so we'll start with Councillor Barton's last question there, because that's the easiest one to answer. Is that none of the schemes listed here are part of the 800k. We will develop a list of those and share them with you. That's still in progress. Then the other questions, I'm going to take them in order that we took them. So that the first couple are one that Barry, our traffic team leader, will be able to answer about Grange Street and the road casualties on the A76. First, perhaps, Barry, if you wouldn't mind.
Chair, just in relation to Grange Street, so there's still some outstanding work to be done to the boundary walls. I think there was issues with the adjacent properties that the contractor was dealing with through their insurance. So we're still waiting for those matters to be resolved. There's still a wee bit of site clearance to be done as well. So once that's complete, then the site will be handed over to us to complete final survey work, and that will allow us to commence with the contract work for the actual car park construction. So we're hoping to progress that in the next month or so. In relation to the 76 casualties, as it's on the trunk road, that's something that Transport Scotland are looking at directly. But any assistance that we can offer in relation to that, we will give through any liaison meetings that we can have with them and the police. I can comment also on the staff, additional council staff moving into the town centre. We're working with a consultant through SPT on a staff travel plan, an active staff travel plan, and that'll be looking to encourage staff to use alternative modes of transport, whether that be carpooling or public transport. So that's currently been developed as we speak. And we're also working on an active travel strategy, which is nearing completion. And just in relation to Councillor Barton's comments relating to Grugger Road, we have now resolved our land acquisition issues, which would allow for the formation of a lay-by. That'll be allowed for additional parking. So we'll be looking to take that project forward again in the next few months, and that will include the resurfacing element of the project as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Barry. Jane?
Yep. So back to other points. It was Councillor Mabin, I think, that raised about the works at Beach Avenue and Kilmarnock being close to Grange Academy, and yeah, those works will be done out with term time for definite. The footway locations, Craig can perhaps come in on that, but we can certainly add more detail if that's been missed out of the report. We'll get that added and then circulated with town names if that's been missed. Is that okay? And I think there was another one from Councillor Maitland, was the Grange Street, the white walls, and the possibility of cameras. Barry, do you know if there's anything that we've been asked to put in the way of cameras, or?
Sorry, I forgot to mention that as well. That's something we can speak to our colleagues at the Risk Management Centre. I believe there are street CCTV cameras on Grange Street, just at the corner with Woodstock Street. So we'll review that to see just what the sight lines, etc., provide in there.
And then I think that just leaves, I think, the active travel and the Infinity Loop update. So there was several schemes, and the Infinity Loop was one of them that was bid for design funding last year, and we never got an answer to that. And anything that was submitted last year and wasn't answered is automatically resubmitted into this coming year. So we should hear in April if we've got the design funding or the funding for the detailed design of the Infinity Loops 1 and 2. Which one includes Sturrock Street as well.
Thanks, Jane. Okay. Drew, sorry.
Thanks, Chair. Just on the maintenance backlog there, you see two huge figures there. Speaking to experts over the years, the biggest problem with the roads is to get the water away from the roads. I just like to ask Ara what they're dealing with, like the ditches and gullies, getting them done more often. I think that's the biggest problem we're getting to cause that maintenance. Huge figure. Happy to see that Closetrine Terrace is getting done in Bellsbank resurfaced, and Raycar Avenue is getting new street lights. The road slips at Polness and A713 and the Cole Glen at B741 were 9-year slip. I keep mentioning every year. The traffic lights inundated with phone calls all the time. I keep contacting NARA, they contact the management plan system, and it's still, they're going out all the time. So it's an ongoing problem. I'd like that addressed if they could. Cheers.
Thanks, Drew. Jane.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Councillor Filson, the Polnesson Road slips. So we've got a detailed design's now been confirmed and the contractor's working on the contract documents, which we hope to have back to us in the next few weeks, and then works will be tendered soon after. With regard to the Cole Glen, as you're aware, there's been legal issues regarding the contractor there, and just recently it's been agreed verbally that the existing contract will be terminated and it will be retendered, and we're hoping to have that done very soon.
That's fine, Jane, thank you.
Jim?
Thanks, Chair. A lot of the points I was going to raise have been covered again. I think my main focal point would have been the deaths on the 9 deaths in East Ayrshire, particularly around about the A76. As far as the A76 goes, maybe Jane, I can ask you to follow up on what progress and where we are likely to see the improvements, and you coming up with that relative to the death in 24. And also notable, I've been working, or have been previously, my contacts now lost, with Amy and Transport Scotland. The amount of spruce trees that were tended in the last storm and previous storms on bypass Cumnock, between the Cumnock roundabout and the Skirrington roundabout, are increasing every time, and I'm concerned that the trees on the Glenramscoil side, that their roots had been weakened. There was meant to be trees taken down there. However, the contact that I did have has now moved on, and that's been sitting there now for 1.5 to 2 years. So maybe pick up on that for me again. I did ask at the pre-agenda, and there's one that concerns me around about the bridges, which is an inspection every 2 weeks would give me cause for concern. So you could maybe elaborate a wee bit on that particular bridge and the extent of why we need to inspect that every 2 weeks. You touched on the Gable Inn and Cumnock and the car park there. That was meant to be a March on target. Is that still the same? We're still looking at March for completion of that. And again, I think it would be remiss of me to notice around about the road condition index is predicted to deteriorate over the future years without increased investment. So again, looking at that and giving inflationary costs, it's laid out stark for us round about that road condition index. But I think it's also worthy of note again that there was an additional £800,000 in the budget put to the roads, so that should help alleviate some of the issues that we've got there. And I think that's all I was looking for the answers on just now. Again, Drew's touched on the road slips again. We can put some of that down to climate change, but I think most of it, for me, in my opinion, again, it's humble, that it's down to the amount of construction traffic and heavier traffic that we're seeing on the B-class roads, especially in association with the wind farm constructions. So if you just 1 or 2 points I'd raise there.
Yes, so just the first 2 points, Councillor McMahon, I'll get updates from Transport Scotland regarding both of those matters for you. Craig, can you come in regarding the bridge that we're inspecting fortnightly?
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Yeah, the B730 Little Mill Bridge near Rankin. The bridge is in a poor condition. It's failed its 40-ton load assessment. It's a major scheme. The tender costs about £1 million with a £9 million 9-month construction phase. The works will replace, it's a major scheme, include temporary bridges, installation and duration of works, multiple utility repairs and rediversions. The project is tender ready. However, there's been some discussions with the land. So there is land issues. We're making progress with the landowners. So hopefully these will be concluded soon, allow us to be on site on summer 2026.
Yes, thanks. Linda, then Neil. Linda.
Thanks, Leader. It's just a wee comment about the A76. Elena Whittam and Councillor Lennox have been working really closely about the particular junction at the coming out the back road for Cartron. And that's where 2 of these fatal accidents are rare. There's also ongoing issues, ongoing campaigns at both ends of Mauchline, one of which I'm involved with, and another one that I think everybody's involved with. So there is already things going. Transport Scotland, they'll know the quickest, and I appreciate that there's procedures that they have to follow, but I've been fighting one particular campaign since 2022, getting there in baby steps, yeah, but there definitely is things ongoing, and I appreciate the A76 is a great big long road and there's lots more needs done, but there already is some things done. So I think, as both yourself and Councillor McMahon have said, I think we need to do further things, but okay.
I remember years ago we had the Minister doing stuff. If it takes that to, it's quite a few years ago now. It was, if we need to write to the Minister or write to Transport Scotland to come down and have a look at some of the kind of key black spots, I'd be quite happy to do that and invite local members to that meeting.
Just trying to make a point.
It's
Jane. Should I start in questions?
Jane, sorry.
Jane, just on the time frame, is it still on target for end of March, the car park, Glazen Street Air Road? And again, I'll make that we ask again about appropriate lighting in there for the lovely new mural that's going to be on the gable end of that building.
So yeah, that is in time scale, is in the March, and there will be street lighting also in the car park and the mural.
Okay. So I'll not necessarily put it as a recommendation, but just we'll write to or maybe minuted, we'll write to Transport Minister and copy it to Transport Scotland to see if they're willing to come down and have a look at some of the issues. Might even show them the Belfield roundabout while they're here and on the journey. Neil, we hadn't forgotten.
Thanks very much, Chair. So just a couple of questions in regard to inputting priority roads for resurfacing. Are we still able to feed in as local councillors and through community councils? Obviously, with the additional monies looking at U roads as well. And my second question is in regard to safe and accessible routes. Obviously, we're identifying routes for our children to get to school safely. Obviously, are we looking to prioritise those routes in regard to any sort of pavement resurfacing, drop curbs? And in regard to drop curbs, I'm really interested in trying to identify where there are dropped curbs in our communities and where there are potential barriers for people in wheelchairs to get about, to access their local communities as well. So I know it's something that I've raised outside of the meeting, but it would be really good if we could look into a map of drop curbs for accessibility going forward.
Thank you, Councillor Ingram, and through you, Chair. So yeah, our priority roads for resurfacing, we scheme rank them in accordance with the policies that have already been approved. We do go out to local members around about September time, October time, to ask for lists of schemes that they wish us to consider, which is taken on board when we develop our final list, which you've got in front of you today. As part of for the additional monies, we will be referring to those lists that we already have in terms of perhaps unclassified residential roads that didn't make the cut for this main programme, and we will be able to do some of those out of the £800,000 that we've got. If anyone has any other areas in terms of patching, smaller scale sort of structural patching works that they think we should be considered, then quite happy to take those on board when we're looking at our own lists. Regarding safe and accessible routes, Barry, my colleague, has been doing some work with the accessibility groups, and he can perhaps update you regarding drop curbs or any works to those.
Chair, yeah, it's something we'd be happy to look at and develop some plans over the course of the next year, just in relation to, you know, plotting what existing crossing points that we have, and maybe preparing some safe walking routes similar to what we've already done with the schools walking routes. I think it very much would be beneficial if we did have, you know, main routes in and out of the various settlements, and then we could maybe start building on that. Just, you know, plot out the core routes and then start looking at how we get to those routes. So that's maybe that's something that we're happy to progress. Obviously, we'll deal with the various communities and ward members, just to gather feedback on that and what's the most desirable routes, and then we'll formulate a plan just around that. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Barry. On the same thing, Neil. Claire, then Neil.
Thank you. I did say there was one thing and I couldn't remember it, but I did remember it. So if you can just indulge me, thank you. And it's on page 122, and I'm delighted to see that Portriggs Road is getting a parking review, especially as it joins up with Lammermuir Road, which is getting speed restrictions. I was out recently with Richard. It's a speed track, and it's getting harder and harder to park near Portriggs as well, which is causing problems with the school. So delighted to see that in there, and lovely to know you're here. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Neil.
I didn't have any further points, Chair. Nice. I was just thumbs up to the response from Barry.
That's always well. Okay, right. I think we've had quite a good discussion on that. Can we agree on recommendations? Okay, back the roads team again. Item 6, pavement parking enforcement. Barry, is that yourself?
Thanks, Chair. This report provides an update to Cabinet on the road assessments that have been undertaken relating to new pavement parking prohibitions, and it provides an update on the work completed to progress the implementation plan. The report also seeks approval for the preparation and promotion of an exemption order which should apply exemptions to certain streets which have met the relevant criteria, as well as orders for associated waiting restrictions. Within the background text contained within paragraphs 4 to 7, we have again highlighted the criteria which allows for the promotion of exemptions, and the fact that if considering an exemption, the pavement must be wide enough to maintain 1.5 metres of clear, unobstructed pavement where any part of the vehicle is parked on it, and or the width of the road is such that any vehicle parked wholly upon it would obstruct an emergency services vehicle. Within the main report, confirmation is given at paragraph 8 that members were invited to provide feedback on locations they felt warranted consideration for an exemption. At paragraph 9, we have explained the methodology adopted to undertake the desktop exercise, which helped identify streets which may have existing pavement parking issues and therefore required further day and night inspections. In the majority of these locations, we concluded that any further consideration for an exemption should be ruled out, as in moving vehicles onto the road would still be passable with care. Whilst we have ensured a consistent approach across the network to the application of the assessment criteria, we have noted at paragraph 11 a slight departure from the process, namely the fact that we have put forward proposals to apply exemptions to a number of streets located within the northwest area of Kilmarnock and footways which have been purposely converted by the council for off-street parking. From paragraph 12, we discussed the further need to consider the introduction of waiting restrictions in support of the payment parking, and this will affect the 4 locations listed within Appendix 2. I should point out that in a departure from the original paper, we have added McClellan Drive, Kilmarnock to these proposals. Paragraph 17 sets out the further consultation we have conducted with members from across the parties and the fact that we have also met several members on site to discuss in more detail the implications of proposals, and the feedback received has been used to define certain proposals. I would also highlight the information contained at paragraph 20 pertaining to the statutory consultation process for any draft TRO, and the fact that every household likely to be affected by the proposed arrangements shall be informed of the draft TRO and their right to object. Any maintained objection would be the subject of another report for further member consideration. And in terms of the implementation plan, the key takeaway would be the fact that whilst the order-making process may take up to a year to complete, the commencement of enforcement can and will be brought forward to June 2025 or earlier if possible. We would then join several other authorities who have already successfully taken up the enforcement powers, such as North Ayrshire, South Lanarkshire, Perth and Kinross, Dundee City and Edinburgh City. So there are 6 recommendations put forward at paragraph 3 for cabinet consideration, and I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thanks, Barry. Pleased to bring this paper in front of us, and some local examples in my own ward. I'm glad we had a look at some of them, and I'm sure other members have taken that opportunity. In terms of other feedback, the process, Barry, where are we? If anybody else comes in with any other suggestions in the future, are we open to look at any future with something that maybe somebody's not thought about, or that we're maybe unaware of, just to before it's fully implemented? Is that possible to look at that?
Yeah, that's something we'd be willing to look at. As I say, the order-making process will commence as soon as possible, but there'll still be time to look at additional locations. And we've also noted at paragraph 18 the fact that once we get up and running, we will be monitoring the effects of the enforcement, and if there are issues that arise that we haven't foresaw, then that's something we'll be willing to look at.
That's good to hear. Jim?
Thanks, Dougie. Second go at this, Barry, and thank you for taking the time to visit the streets that was mentioned the last time to where we finally are today. I think for me there's only one thing changed where we are, other than looking at the exemptions and that's running about where we currently sit, how we're going to enforce this, because what I'm getting already and what through emails and through communications and social media is, how do we enforce this? And that's the change I talk about since you last brought the paper, where there's £700,000 out there is now to look at how that wider enforcement of everything, and it's how we're going to enhance the service that we have, and looking at maybe particular areas where we have that enforcement, where we've got particular issues in Kilmarnock, and it's how we deliver that parking enforcement and that wider scale. I'm agreeing with the phased approach to it. I think there's the communications have got to be right on it, and we get the communications right, that as we go forward that this will be fixed penalty notices on parking. We've got to get that communication but absolutely spot on, plenty of it, so folk are aware as we phase that in there. So that would be my only comment on it, that we get that communication right and where we go with parking enforcement, because we're going to have to enhance the enforcement team some way.
Elaine?
Thanks, Chair. I was just really wanting to thank Cabinet colleagues for agreeing to delay this initial paper so that we could have the time for the site visits in a couple of the wards, and really appreciate Barry's time and expertise to come out and talk about some of the streets that are going to be impacted in this in Ward 2. That was a really helpful exercise. And also Barry's explanation of the planned detailed notification that's going to go out to impacted residents, including their rights of objection. So just a really simple ask from me is maybe once those letters start to go out, that elected members get a quick briefing just prior to the delivery of those notifications. That would again help the whole process, I think. Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. No, we know Barry and the team put a lot of work into this, and I think that's maybe a good suggestion, just to alert members when these letters are going out, because I think that would be, our emails will be certainly busy come that time. Barry?
So initially, Chair, the members will receive notification through the first phase of the process. So there's a 4-week statutory consultation for elected members, emergency services, etc. Police, to allow them to make comment, and then on completion of that, we move to the advertising side of it, and that's when residents receive notification of the draft TRO. So that would follow in immediately after the first phase of the process, but we'd be more than happy to just update members prior to the letters going out.
That's great. Appreciated. Anybody else? No, can we agree with recommendation? There. Okay, and go to item 7, and that's commissioning and contracting arrangements, health and social care partnership. Dale. There you are.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning. This is a paper from the Health and Social Care Partnership, building on our approach last year when we presented a paper bringing all of our commissioning for the forthcoming year within the Health and Social Care Partnership to Cabinet for approval. Just to note for members that this paper was approved at the Integrated Joint Board on the 5th of February when a direction was issued to the Council. So essentially we're seeking approval for 8 pieces of commissioning. These are services that are with new contractual arrangements, extensions to existing contracts, and some contracts coming to an end and being retendered in the financial year 25 to 26. This is in line with our Council standing orders. Paragraph 3 provides the areas of service that are covered within the commissioning work. Most of these sit within wellbeing and recovery. That's our mental health and learning disability services. But one of the services is partnership wide, and that's our social work information case management system. Paragraph 4 describes the responsibilities that are delegated to the Integrated Joint Board, and paragraph 6 refreshes how our commissioning arrangements relate and link to the strategic plan. So just to work you through the contractual arrangements themselves, paragraph 7 is the new contractual arrangement. This relates to the adult frameworks for mental health and learning disability care at home and the framework for community supports, both of which commence in April 2025. That's next month, I realise. Paragraphs 8 to 12 describe 3 contractual arrangements that require an extension. The respite service at Elms provided by Thornton Care, an extension to the supported accommodation provided at Andrew Nisbet Place, and the second paper from myself relates to that, and the contract for our social work information management system based on the requirements and advice from Council's procurement. Paragraphs 14 to 17 describe arrangements that are coming to an end in the next financial year and need to be retendered. These are the independent advice and information service aligned with delivery of self-directed support, the counselling contract, and the supported accommodation framework I've just mentioned above. Implications of these arrangements are set out in paragraphs 18 to 28, and in Appendix 1 you've got a handy summary of all the actions required in line with the arrangements we've described. So finally, the recommendations are set out in Cabinet. Essentially, we're seeking funding to continue contractual arrangements contained in the paper, and for the Cabinet to receive a direction in respect of the implementation of these as approved by the IJB on the 5th of February. Thank you, Chair. Happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Dale. Claire?
Thank you, Dale. And yes, takes us back to February and some very strong discussions. It's just looking at paragraph 11 and 12, and just for reassurance's sake, I think this is the right thing to do, to continue the contract as is. I just wanted to point that out. In terms of financing and continuity, I really recommend that we go with that. Thank you.
Thanks, Claire. Okay. Okay, any other comments, anyone? No, can we go to recommendations, page 160, can we agree recommendations? Okay, and now go to exclusion of press and public, and ask IT to stop the recording. Is that done? Yeah.